hit it twice. Hey, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Hey there, folks. My name is Brad Varnell. This is the Infinite Crypto YouTube channel. Good Monday morning, man. Today is the day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it. Having a fantastic Monday morning today, folks, and I hope you are having a great day too. Want to just give a quick shout out to Hannah J. Thank you so much for being here. You were first this morning. Eric Bernstein, good morning, buddy. Hope you are doing fantastic. Today is a topic that I'm really excited to share and to talk about with you guys. I want to say that the title of this video, I can never remember my own title, even though I just made it a half an hour ago. But I know it talked about, how to get rich or wealthy and free, starting from zero. The good news, folks, is if you're not starting from zero, then this is still a great video for you. And if you're starting from less than zero, like if there's a lot of people out there that wish that they were at zero because they're in 10 or 20 or 50 or $100,000 worth of debt. So wherever you're starting at in life doesn't really matter as far as this video goes. Hopefully I'm going to share some stuff with you that will be good and helpful. We got Mr. Deadwood in the house. Thank you. Good morning. We didn't think we'd get away from you. We knew you'd be here and appreciate you very much. And then, I made it. Please like, share, and subscribe. Hey, thank you so much, Deadwood, for reminding me. Yeah, folks, if you are watching this thing, please hit that like button and help me with the old YouTube algorithm. I got old Rocky here decided she wants to be a part of the video today. What are you doing, Rocky? We're trying to have a serious video here, and you're interrupting. Yeah. Say hi to the fans. Yeah, everybody loves a Rocky. Yeah, this is our cat, Rocky. It's a girl. You wonder why we named her Rocky if she's a girl. Well, when we got her, we thought she was a boy. Yeah, we got her at about 4 weeks old. The people that gave her to us way too young. They told us that she was a boy. We didn't know any better. We thought she was a boy. And so the next thing you know, we're at the vet a couple of weeks later, and we find out she's a girl. We decided not to change her name. This is my Father's Day shirt from a couple of years ago. Anybody who wants to see this, my wife gave this to me as a gag. That's a picture of my wife all over this shirt. She gave this to me as a gag gift a couple of Father's Days ago, and I surprised her. I said, hey, I love that, babe. I'm going to rock it. So I don't wear it out in public all the time, but I do wear it occasionally, and I just felt like throwing it on. And, it's kind of got the Hawaiian, the palm trees and the beach and stuff in it, and felt like being festive this morning. So anyways, I'm wearing the Father's Day shirt with my wife's picture plastered all over it. Good morning, Paul. Man, all the usual suspects in the house. All of the people that may or may not even need to hear this. I know that you guys that are watching this channel on a regular basis, having got a chance to get to know you, I know that a lot of you are doing pretty well in life. You've got a good plan set out for you. And, and I'm excited for where we're going here over the next 6 to 12 months. As usual, folks, when I talk about different topics, I always mention how sometimes this is it's something that's important to me. It's something that maybe I've been having a struggle with, and that's the case with today's video too. I've been very good at some of these topics, but I've also been really, really, really bad a lot of times in my life. I did not get a lot of these things right. And so let's just jump right into it. I've got about 4 topics here on how to get rich starting from zero, how to get wealthy and free starting from zero. And folks, for those of you that are new to the channel that are watching this, or even those of you that have been watching for a while, and maybe you've heard my story a little bit, maybe you haven't, but I'm 50 years old, getting ready to turn 51 here at the end of this month. In fact, I wanted to mention July is one of my favorite months of the year because my son's birthday is in July. Get to watch him turn 18 here in a couple of weeks. My dad's birthday was July 24th. He's no longer with us, but it's still, a special day for our family. And then my birthday is July 30th. And so it was really cool between my son, my dad, and myself. We all have these birthdays, within, 10, 11 days of each other. And we always got together and did, something special. And so July has always been one of my favorite months. And, looking forward to a lot of incredible things in July, including I'll be in Nashville, Tennessee for the Bitcoin 2024 conference in Nashville. And I'll get to have my son there with me. My wife is going also. And then I've got my filmer, my editor. We're going to go hit Tennessee here the 24th of July through about the 31st of July. Get to celebrate my birthday in Tennessee, do something fun. The Bitcoin conference itself is, I think, the 25th, 6th, and 7th. So the 28th, 9th, and 30th, we're going to actually be in Tennessee just having some fun. But yeah, so let's get right into it. So one of the things that I found, folks, and some of this might seem a little bit counterintuitive, and I'm definitely going to be quoting a couple of verses from the Bible today. There's a couple of things that I think that the Bible really gets right. And folks, I want you to know ahead of time, no matter what you believe, the principles of life that help you get successful, they work for you, whether you believe or whether you don't believe. The principles of success are going to work, just like the law of gravity. Doesn't matter whether you believe in God or don't believe in God. If you go jump off a roof, gravity is going to work. And so now, don't get me wrong. I do want to preface this with, if you don't believe in God and you're doing a lot of these success principles correctly, I do believe that you can get financially very, very successful. But without the relationship with God and without some of the other things that brings into your life, I think that wealth is not going to be anywhere near as fulfilling. It's not going to be meaningful, and it may or may not create the happiness that folks desire. I have found that I was very, very happy when I was poor, and I've been very, very happy when I was wealthy. And I'm not going to lie, happy wealthy is way better than happy poor. But at the same time, it's my love for God, my relationship with Jesus Christ, that gives me peace and gives me happiness throughout all of it, because I'm just like you guys. I struggle. I've got good days. I've got bad days. I've got good times financially. I've got some crazy, horrible times financially. You guys have heard some of those stories. So part of this is definitely, Bible related. I'm very much a firm believer that the Bible lays out a blueprint that if we will follow it, that so many things in our life that we struggle with will become easy very, very quickly. So the first thing that I found in my own life was when I was struggling financially, the thing that really helped get me out of the hole was I really started focusing on giving. And so for those of you that are taking notes, although it might seem very counterintuitive, if you're struggling, if you're living paycheck to paycheck, I mean, if you're going to the grocery store and, literally doing stuff, like my wife and I have had times where we had to go to the grocery store and we knew exactly how much money we had, $91 or whatever that amount was. We would literally, as we were putting things into the grocery cart, we would have a calculator on our phone and we'd be adding it up, making sure that we didn't get to the checkout stand and be embarrassed because we got there with $94 worth of food and we only had $91 to pay for it. So if you're in a position where you're really watching and scrimping and every penny matters, then you're going to be like, you might have a huge resistance to this. And I'm here to tell you folks, I can't explain it. I don't know why it works, but I just promise you, please, please, please test me on this. You cannot outgive God. And once again, even if you don't believe there is a God, you still can't outgive him. So just try to outgive whatever you do believe in. And I promise you, you cannot outgive God. You cannot do more good in this world than will end up being given back to you. And so, one of the first Bible verses that I want to bring up, let me share my screen here. because I don't want you to think that this is, Brad Varnell talking to you. That I really, before this live stream started, folks, I always, or not always, I'm not gonna turn myself into a liar. I usually pray, and occasionally I'll forget, but my goal is to pray and is to always ask the Lord to help me be a vessel that He is speaking through. So I very much try, when I'm talking in these videos, I'm hoping that God is speaking through me, and that the things that I'm talking to you about, the things that are on my heart, are things that the Lord is wanting me to share with you. So this very first verse, the reason that I bring this to the forefront first is because, from what I've been told and what I understand, this is the only time in the Bible where God tells you that it's okay to test Him. I mean, there's other places in the Bible where it's very clear that you don't want to test God. When Jesus is in the wilderness and He prays for 40 days, and then the devil comes at the end of those 40 days and tries to lead him into temptation. One of the things that Jesus says in that, the devil basically says something along the lines, why don't you jump off of this mountain, because your God, can save you. And so if you really believe in God, why don't you just jump off the edge of this cliff and let God, save you? And Jesus says in the next verse, paraphrasing, this isn't exact words, but He says, do not test your Lord, my God. But here in Malachi, this is Malachi 3:10. It says, bring the whole tithe into the storehouse, that there may be food in my house. Test me in this, says the Lord Almighty, and see if I will not throw open the floodgates of heaven and pour out so much blessing that there will not be room enough to store it. And folks, from my own life, I'm a testament to this. So I lived most of my life without ever tithing anything to the church, without ever really giving on a deliberate basis. Of course, if I had a friend in need or a family member that was hurting and I could help them, I would. But I never really was deliberate in my giving until I started going to this church, Valley Bible Fellowship, here in Las Vegas back in about 2008. And I started learning some of these principles. And I just want to preface this, folks, with God doesn't need your money. So there's so many people out there, these prosperity ministers and these people that make tithing a really taboo thing. Most people don't want to hear about it. And I don't blame you, because there's so much misuse. There's so much misuse of our funds. There's so many people out there that take advantage of people, and they take advantage of these verses in the Bible. And so if you've been taken advantage of at some point in time in your life, or you've given and it didn't go to what you thought it was going to go to, it didn't feel like it was doing any good, I totally understand. And so it's important to give to the right place and do your due diligence when you give. But I'm here to tell you, folks, that giving is the first step in creating wealth in your life. And so many, many years ago, I was in the same position that I'm talking about right now, where I was super broke. Man, I was living paycheck to paycheck, never had any extra money. It seemed like anytime any extra money did start to get built up, all of a sudden one of my cars would break down. I would need a new water pump, or transmission would go out, or something would come up, something special. Hey, it's, my cousin is getting married back in Washington State, and we got to figure out how to buy plane tickets and, take this trip. And just one thing after another, after another, after another. And it just always seemed like there was not enough money at the end of the month. And I made the decision way back then to start tithing 10%. Now, if you don't have a church or you don't have a place, to give the 10% to, there's a lot of great things that you can do with that 10%. I'm not going to tell you who to give it to or what to do with it, but I'm here to tell you that in my own life, I watched miraculous things happen. I started giving the 10%, and one of the pastors in my church made a comment, and he talked about this Malachi. He talked about testing God, and one of the things that he said that made so much sense to me is he said, God can do more with your 90% than you can do with your whole 100%. And I really, that made a lot of sense to me, because God is God. He can do anything that he wants. And that also comes back to when I say God doesn't need your money. God doesn't need your 10%. I know that here in Vegas, in general, the 80-20 rule pertains to most churches. And what that means is 20% of the people in the church tithe and give to the church 80% of the money that the church lives off of. So even though there's a huge percentage of the church that doesn't follow these principles, that doesn't tithe, the church still makes it. Church still pays its bills. The church still does a ton of good. And just, I want you to really, have that resonate with you. God does not need your money. So the 10% that you're giving to God is just to show God that you trust him, that you know that he's your provider, and that you believe that he can do more with the 90% that's left than you can do with a full 100%. So I would highly recommend take any percentage. I'm not saying that you have to start with 10%. Start with 1% and just start giving. Every time you get paid, give to something that's near and dear to your heart, somebody that you love, the homeless guy down on the corner of the street. Start stopping once a week and giving him a $20 bill or buying him some food, whatever. Just start getting into the mindset of, even though things are tough for me right now, I'm going to give. I'm going to choose to give and help other people. And I'm going to test Brad and I'm going to test God on this, because I'm telling you folks that you cannot start focusing on others and loving others and giving to others and not see miraculous things happen in your life. Please test me on this. And see if it's not true. And I want to give you guys just a quick story that is near and dear to my heart. When you talk about the power of God and how God can do anything, one of the pastors from my church that I've known now for 17 or 18 years, back when I met him, he wasn't even a pastor for the church. He was just a normal guy like me, trying to make life work, just going to church and trying to be as good of a man, good of a husband, good of a father as he could be. And back, I want to say it was in the early 2010, 11, 12, somewhere in that ballpark, several years ago now. But he still wasn't a pastor yet of the church. But he had a situation where he got into a motorcycle accident, and he literally, his foot, when he tells the story, his foot did a 180-degree turn. His foot was facing backwards at the end of this motorcycle accident, and he's laid up in the hospital, and he's trying to recover. And his wife comes to him and says, Russell, about this time of the year, electric bills are high, air conditioning is running rampant. She comes to Russell and she tells him that they've got a $500 electric bill, and she doesn't have the money. They don't have the money to pay it. Back then, he owned his own pressure washing business. He was an entrepreneur. He owned his own business. And being in the hospital and laid up for several weeks, he wasn't able to be bringing in any money. And she's like, Russell, our electricity is about ready to get shut off. What am I going to do? And this man is such an incredible man of faith. He prayed about it, and he just told her, hey, God will provide. I don't know when it's coming or how it's coming, but God is going to take care of us. And this man had been very faithful in giving and tithing and doing everything that he could. But now here he is laying in a hospital feeling totally helpless. and having no idea how he's going to provide for his family, what's going to happen. But he just prayed and he told his wife that it was going to be all right. And she left that hospital still pretty frustrated and not, I mean, she's appreciated his faith, but at the same time, she walked out of there, she got young kids and it's in the middle of Las Vegas summer, 110 degrees, and their electricity, their air conditioning is about ready to get shut off. Well, a couple of days later, she had a meeting with this lady from the church, or a business meeting, and part of this business meeting, the lady could tell that something was off, and she asked Annette, "Hey, what is going on? You seem kind of stressed out. You don't seem like your normal self today." And Annette just kind of broke down and told her what was going on, and told her that their air conditioning was about ready to get shut off. And try not to cry. I know I'm a big baby, but this story I love it. It resonates so much with me. So this lady says, "Annette, how much do you need to pay for your electric bill?" And Annette says, "It's $500 that I need." And the lady says, "Oh my goodness, you're not going to believe this." She says, "Go over to the bookshelf behind you and grab that book that is sitting there and bring it back to where you're sitting." So Annette did. And she said, "Now open up the book and take out the envelope that's in the book." And so Annette takes out the envelope and the lady says, "This is for you." And Annette opens up the envelope and there's 5 $100 bills in the envelope. Folks, I mean, it's miraculous. God can do anything. This lady then went on to tell Annette that a couple of weeks ago, God had told her to put $500 aside because there was somebody that was going to be crossing this lady's path that was in need, and that $500 was for her, and that she would know who this $500 was to go to when the time was right. And to me, that's just such a miraculous story. God knew about their needs. He knew about Russell and Annette's needs, and had provided for it a couple of weeks prior. And that's just how good God is. And it's just a demonstration of how God can do anything. So I know for folks out there, there's going to be skeptics. And if you don't believe in God, that's going to sound, too good to be true. It's going to sound crazy. But I'm telling you here, after almost 51 years on this earth, living this life, I have seen multiple times in my life where things like this have come together and have happened for those that believe and that trust in the Lord. So I'm not going to beat a dead horse, too much here. I do want to go over here to Luke 6:38. I've got this pulled up, but I do want to show you here. It says, "Give and you shall receive. Your gift will return to you in full, pressed down, shaken together to make room for more, running over and poured into your lap. The amount you give will determine the amount you get back." Another Bible verse talking about the importance of giving. And then last but not least, I talked about this a couple of weeks ago. It says, "A good man leaves an inheritance to his children's children, but the sinner's wealth is laid up for righteous." And folks, the reason that I bring that to your attention is because I want to prove to you guys that God wants you to be wealthy. Most people that are struggling financially, and I can speak for myself, the hardest times that I've ever had in my life financially have almost always been brought upon me because of the bad decisions that I made. Debt that I got into, spending money that I couldn't afford to spend, buying a car that really I couldn't afford the payment, but I decided to just do it anyways. And so, I bring that up just to basically, I believe in my heart that God wants abundance for us, but I also believe that there are these success principles. There's these things that we have to follow. There's an order to it, and we're going to go on to number 2. I think I've talked enough about giving, but folks, I hope, please test me on this and come back in 30 or 60 days and tell me whether or not you've seen a difference in your life. If you really take this to heart and you really start to give and really start to love on other people and give as much as you can give, whatever that is, and see if it doesn't come around and you start seeing blessings in your life and things happen for you that you can't explain. So the second thing that's very important, this is also not very fun to talk about. The first part, I love the give and talk. That's fun to talk about. But the second thing here in my notes is you got to quit doing what got you to where you are in the first place. And so, folks, this is the part where I lose a lot of people, because this is the part where you got to take responsibility for where you're at. And folks, I know there are circumstances that come up in life. There's sickness. There's, like I say, things that happen. Your transmission falls out. There's things that happen in life that I know create tough financial situations. And I'm not here to tell everybody like a blanket statement that you are here financially, all because of bad mistakes and bad choices that you've made. But for most of us, we can go back and look at a lot of the decisions that we made, and we can realize that we didn't follow, biblical principles. That the easiest way to wealth, folks, is to live beneath your means. We've all heard it multiple times in our life. I'm guessing there's not one person watching this video today that hasn't been told, hey, just live beneath your means. And then take the extra money that is above, like you live off of 80% of your money and you tithe 10% of it. And then you take the other 10% and you save and invest that money. Well, I mean, that's like a surefire way to creating some wealth in your life and creating a situation where you don't have to be worried about living paycheck to paycheck. I mean, if you just save 10% of your income, do you realize that in 10 years, you're going to have a whole year's worth of money built up? And if you've been investing that money, you're going to actually have, hopefully it's at least doubled with some decent interest. Even at 7 to 10% interest, your money's going to double in 7 years. So theoretically, if you started off in life at 18 or 20 years old, and all you did was live by the biblical principle of living beneath your means and saving and investing 10% of what you earn, by the time you're 30, you'd have 2 years worth of living expenses built up. And unfortunately, I don't know of very many people that by the time they're 30 years old have a couple years of living expenses built up, because most people start off in life and you need furniture, you need a car, you got to eat. You're not making as much money as you would like to make a lot of times in your earlier years. And people start off and they set out on this path. And by the time they're 20, 21, 22, 23, they've already totally messed it all up. And part of that is not being willing to delay gratification. They got to have everything right now. And I was one of them. I did this. By the time I was in my early 20s, I had so much debt. I mean, I was buying clothes on credit cards. I was buying food on credit cards. I mean, I never said no to myself. If I had the ability to finance it, I would make it happen. And then all of a sudden, what happened was all of my money was gone. Like every month I had more bills than I had money, and I had to start figuring out ways to create more income. But most often I would just create more debt until I got to the point where the debt was so suffocating and so pressuresome that I had to make some serious decisions and let some things go and kind of start over in life. And so, there's a famous saying out there. There's this story where this guy's got this banana peel, or this guy's got a hole in his sidewalk. He's got this hole, and he's walking along one day, and he slips on a banana peel, and his foot slides into the hole, and he breaks his leg. And so he ends up recovering, goes to the doctor, gets a cast. He ends up recovering, and about 6 months later, he's walking along. And at this point in time, in order to give himself like a reminder, he's actually got a couple of orange cones that are sitting around the edge of the hole to remind him that the hole is there, and so he doesn't fall in it. And that works for about 6 months. But one day he's outside playing catch, and his son throws the football, and he's running to catch this football, and he forgets about it, and he's focused on the football. And the next thing you know, his leg falls into this hole, and he breaks his leg again. He goes to the doctor, he gets casted up, he goes home, he recovers. Now he literally takes, like those signs with the yellow tape, the big, the white signs with the red squiggles in them, like when they're doing road work. He takes 3 of those signs, and then he takes the yellow tape, that says "Do not enter," and puts it all the way around. So there's just absolutely no way that you can't see, this hole, that you can't avoid it. And yet something happens again in this story. I don't remember. It gets more and more ridiculous. But he falls into the hole again and breaks his leg. And the moral of the story, folks, is fix the hole. So finally the guy wakes up and he fills in the hole. And that's what I'm trying to tell you guys here. Like, you got to quit doing whatever got you into the financial mess that you're in. You got to quit doing that. And I understand we've been talking now for almost 40 minutes, and you're like, okay, Brad, when are you going to get to the part of, like, when are we going to start getting rich? Like, so far, all you've told me to do is give away more of my money that I already don't feel like I have enough of. And now you're telling me, to fill in the hole, to quit doing the things that I was doing that got me into this mess in the first place. When are you going to actually talk about how we get rich? And so that's coming. It is coming. But I'm telling you, folks, the reason that people want more wealth in their life, the reason that people struggle for years and years and years and years and never seem to get it right, is because they never go back to the beginning and realize that they have to change these things first before they can open the door and give themselves an opportunity to have wealth, folks. I'm telling you, if you're making $100,000 a year and you're spending 110, and you think that when you get to $500,000 or $1 million a year, that you're going to be, financially free, that the answer is just to make more money, I'm here to tell you, it's been proven over and over and over and over in life that the amount of money that you make will not create wealth in your life if you're spending more than you make. And I promise you, if you're making $100,000 a year and you're spending more than $100,000 a year on your life, you can get to $500,000 or $1 million a year and be spending more than you're making. It happens all the time, because what do most people do? They go from making $100,000 a year, and maybe they have a nice Honda or a Lexus or something, like that. And they've got a little, a nice little house, but it's a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom house, nothing special. All of a sudden they start making $250,000 a year. They feel richer than they've ever felt. They go out and they buy the Mercedes or the BMW or the Lexus or, the Range Rover. They go out, they need a bigger house. So they go buy a bigger, better house with a swimming pool in the backyard. And there's nothing wrong with buying those things, folks. I like those things. I want to have those things too. But my point is all of a sudden, after 6 months or a year or two of making $250,000 a year, now they're spending 275. And so if you don't get some of these things in check and start creating these habits of living below your means, it'll never matter how much your means end up being. You'll always be able to outspend them. I mean, unless you end up doing, some kind of crazy, Elon Musk type of a business, he probably couldn't spend all of the money that he has if he tried. Like, you can only spend so many billions of dollars. Like, after I was doing this dream building exercise where I was trying to spend $1 million a day. And folks, I'm telling you, after about 10, 15, 20 days, you start to run out of stuff that you want to buy when you're spending $1 million a day, even if it's imaginary. I would literally take out a piece of paper and I would start writing down all of the things that I would want to buy. And even the first day, I mean, the first day, it's not super hard because you can spend $1 million on a house and you're done. Day two, you could buy, a couple Ferraris, you're done. But at some point in time, if you're really thinking about what you really want in life, what you need, at $1 million a day, 10, 15, 20 days in, most people are having a tough time about thinking about what they want. And that's part of the reason for that exercise, folks. That whole exercise is designed to expand my mind and to remind me of what is possible and to help me dream, bigger than I had ever dreamed, before. So you got to quit doing what got you to where you are in the first place. And so now let's get on to step number 3. So step number 3 is to start buying assets. And step number 4 is to get out of debt. And I know that I am counterintuitive on this. I can't tell you that my way here is better by any means. In fact, a lot of financial advisors would tell you that I'm dead wrong on this, and I'm willing to be proved wrong. This is just my own personal opinion. And so take this with a grain of salt, because a lot of financial advisors and a lot of people out there would disagree. I'm going to tell you that, in my opinion, I would be buying assets with every dollar that I can squeeze out above and beyond, the money that I'm given to my church and that type of stuff, rather than getting out of debt. So I know credit card debt, 20, 25, 30%, car payments. A lot of times, especially if you don't have great credit, car payments can be very high, debt wise. And so I got Maverick down here. You can't quite see her. She's not in the shot. The only difference, let me grab her and see if I can show her to you guys. The only difference between Maverick and Rocky, if you notice, is Maverick is all black, no white nose like Rocky had. But they're sisters. They also, I named her, she's my cat. Maverick is my cat. I named her Maverick before I realized that she was a girl too. And I also did not want to change her name. But both of these black cats, when they were given to us, we thought they were boys. And and then we got them to the vet and we found out they're not boys. Yeah, you guys is girl kitties. So step 3, buy assets. Step 4, get out of debt. And I'm willing to admit that I might have that backwards. But the reason, folks, that is what I would recommend is because of where we are at in life, because of the economy and because of inflation. In order to get wealthy quickly, right now, I believe we have a window of opportunity for the next 6 to 12 months that is going to be unlike any window of opportunity that we've maybe ever seen before, and we may or may not ever see again in our lifetimes. And that's cryptocurrency. That's why we're all here. That this is a cryptocurrency channel, even though on Mondays, we're 47 minutes in before I mention the word cryptocurrency. But folks, you have an opportunity in the not too distant future to absolutely change your life financially through some of these incredible assets. Maverick, you're killing me here. I swear to goodness, she's never this lovey-dovey unless I'm right in the middle of trying to make a video. All right, give me a second. I'm going to get rid of her. But I almost, once again, I'm going to get myself in some trouble here. I'm not telling you to go borrow money to buy assets with. But at the same time, if I have an extra $1,000 in my pocket, I'm probably not going to go pay down a credit card that is going to save me, a $20 or $30 a month payment, when I believe that I can invest that in over the next 6 to 12 months. That's probably going to minimum 10x. And in a lot of assets, I believe you're going to see a 20, 30, or 40, or 50x in a lot of situations. So to me, paying off debt in this moment of time, don't worry, we're going to get to it. But in this moment of time, I would not be worried about paying down debt. I'd be worried about keeping up with it and making my minimum payments and staying even in life. But I would be taking every extra penny that I could get a hold of and be investing it into the right cryptocurrencies, stuff like Polkadot, Matic, Bitcoin, Ethereum, Chainlink, and so on and so forth. There's a lot of great cryptocurrencies out there that are the Microsofts and the Amazons and the Starbucks and the Dells and the Apples of the world in crypto that are going to do amazing things over the next 6 to 12 months. Now, as that money starts to flow in, I definitely then take some of that great money that is starting to come your way, and you definitely want to get debt free. So getting debt free is step 4. But also, folks, listen to me here. I am not a financial advisor. I do not have any financial licenses. This is all my opinion and what I do. You take it with a grain of salt. You talk to your own financial advisor. You do your own due diligence, your own research, and figure out what works for you. But I am not telling you that all debt is bad debt. In my opinion, I love Dave Ramsey. At the same time, I disagree with a lot of what Dave Ramsey talks about. Dave Ramsey is a great guy for somebody that's just got a job and that's going to work for somebody else for the next 40, 50 years, 20, 30 years, whatever it is. If you're just going to be a W-2 employee and you're just going to work your job and your goal is to have enough money to retire in 30, 40, 50 years, Dave Ramsey will save you a lot of heartache and trouble if you follow some of the steps that he helps you to put into place. So Dave Ramsey has a lot of value, but if you're really looking to be an entrepreneur, if you're looking to create generational wealth and to have multi business billion, or not billions, but multi millions, different streams of income, asset producing cash flow, then there are times where, like with real estate, if you told me that you were buying a piece of property as an investment and you were only going to be able to put 10 or 20% down and you were going to finance the rest of that property, I would say go for it. You know, more wealth has been created in real estate than just about anything else on this planet. And most people that buy real estate don't use their own money to buy it. And part of the reason for that is because if they're using somebody else's money, then they have an unlimited ability to continue to buy real estate and to buy assets. So definitely get out of your credit card debt. Try to get your car payment paid off. But even then, like as a business owner, I'm learning so much with the LLC and stuff. There are opportunities where you can buy cars and 100% of the car ends up being a tax write-off. And so there's times where even with cars, I am a firm believer that it's okay to lease a car and drive it for your 3 years, turn it back into the dealership, grab a new car. You're letting your assets, you're letting your business pay for it, but you're also creating an incredible, tax write-off. That's one of the reasons why you see so many of the ultra wealthy, they have these jets and they have all of these different things. Part of the reason for that is because they have, towards the end of the year, they get talked to by their accountant, their tax attorney, and they get told, hey, you can either go out and buy this $25 million jet and write it off and not pay any income tax on that 25 million, or you're going to get stuck with a multi-million-dollar tax bill if you don't find something that you can put that $25 million in profit that you have from this business into. So once again, I'm not a tax attorney, folks, but one of the cool things about creating wealth is as you get further and further along in the process, you start to meet people that know more than you. At least I am. Like I was talking with a tax attorney, Ernest Lee from Decrypted Tax a couple of weeks ago. I just did a nice video with him. He's going to be coming into our inner circle. But man, having somebody like him that is giving me some of these strategies and that is telling me new things that I can do to increase my wealth, it's just absolutely mind-blowing what you can start to learn about when you get into the right circles. So what would I be buying? Let's run over here to CoinGecko, and I noticed that it doesn't look like I ever shared my screen, and that none of those Bible verses actually got pulled up, did they? They did. Okay, good. Let me run over to CoinGecko here real quick. Since this is a cryptocurrency channel, we will go over here to CoinGecko and let's take a quick peek. Look at that, folks. Bitcoin up 2.5% in the last 24 hours, sitting at about $63,000. So, folks, I wanted to give you some math that seems almost too good to be true, but it's not too good to be true. Share that tab instead. There we go. So I don't know if any of you have ever thought about this, and it doesn't come up a lot in most conversations because in general, it is far-fetched and probably seems almost impossible. But with cryptocurrency, folks, I wanted to give you guys an example. Do you realize that if you put $1,000 into a crypto and it 10x's, you've got 10 grand? I mean, of course, that's easy math. But do you realize that if you find another crypto and you put that $10,000 into that crypto, that now 10x's, you've got $100,000? And I'm just going to stop right there. Well, I'm not going to stop right there, but I'm going to stop right there for right now. What would that do in your life if you were able to take $1,000 and over the next 12 months, 10x it twice? Well, I'm here to tell you, folks, that there is an opportunity for those of you that are diligent to make that happen. It might not be a 10x and a 10x. It might be a 5x and a 20x. You know, if you take 1,000 and turn it into 5,000, and then you put that 5,000 into another crypto and it 20x's, you're at 100 grand. It could be even just a 3x. You go from 3,000 or from 1,000 to 3,000, and then another 3x from 3,000 to 9,000. And then that 9,000, you hit, an 11x. And you've got 100 grand. My point is there's going to be a lot of opportunities over the next year where you're not going to necessarily buy one crypto and just leave it in that crypto for the whole year. There's going to be a lot of opportunities where you've bought a crypto and it's 10 or 15x'd and it looks like it's kind of peaking out. And then you've got, something new that launched, a new narrative, a new niche that is coming to the forefront of the market. And there's going to be opportunities where you take the profit on that first token and you put it into a second token that hasn't had that run yet. And all of a sudden it 10x's. And I'm here to tell you that's how people take a relatively small amount of money and turn it into life-changing money. If you do that 3 times, you take 1,000 and turn it into 10,000, and then you take 10,000 and turn it into 100,000, and then you take 100,000 and 10x it into $1 million. That's how you can go from $1,000 to $1 million. Now, folks, finding 3 consecutive 10x's is way harder than it might sound. It might almost be impossible, but at the same time, people are going to do it. There's a lot of people that are going to create millions and millions and millions of dollars from a small amount of money. And so that's why it's so important right now, folks, to beg, borrow, scratch, steal, whatever you got to do. No, don't steal, but whatever you got to do to scrape together 1,000 here and 1,000 there. Of course, you have much better chance of getting up into, several $100,000 or even into the millions and really creating freedom for yourself, the more money that you can allocate. But I'm here to tell you, if you're watching this video and you're just like, man, I've only got a couple hundred here, I've only got a couple hundred there, I don't know how I'm going to create life-changing wealth. Well, I'm telling you, folks, this is not the stock market. If you had $1,000 to invest into the stock market, you'd be absolutely thrilled if your $1,000, 25% interest on it. If you made 25% on a stock and your 1,000 turned into $1,250, that'd be a fantastic year. There's people out there that would be absolutely excited if they grew their portfolio by 25%. I'm here to tell you, as a cryptocurrency investor, if you told me, hey, I've got this crypto and I guarantee you, like, I'll put it in writing, I'll put the money in an escrow account, I'll put it, like, it's guaranteed if you invest $1,000 today, that your 1,000 is going to be worth $2,000 in 12 months from now. I'd say thanks, but no thanks. Like 100% interest does not get me excited right now, because I know that I can throw my money into Chainlink or Polkadot or Matic or even Bitcoin. Bitcoin's going to do better than 100%, I believe. Ethereum's going to do better than 100%. So you have an opportunity right now, folks, to get your money into assets that is going to 10x or more over the next 12 months, almost without fail. There's always risk in investing, but what I found, the biggest risk in investing in crypto is that people get scared and they either sell at a loss because they just don't think that it's going to work, so they give up too soon. Or the second thing is they invest money that they can't afford to leave in the market. They invest $1,000 that they need for rent. Like, let's say that you just paid all of your bills and you got an extra $1,000, but technically it's not really extra. You know that come August 1st, you're going to need that $1,000 for your bills. Do not invest it into crypto expecting to double or triple or quadruple your money between now and August, because what's going to happen more times than not, by August, your $1,000 is worth $750. And now you're frustrated because you got to sell it at a 25% loss. And now you're bad mouthing crypto and you lost $250, but worse, you're out of the market. You don't have any of the crypto. You'd have been much better off buying $250 worth of crypto that you could leave in, and that you didn't care if in August your 250 was only worth 200, and September comes around and your 250 is only worth 150. You don't care. You don't need that 250. I tell everybody, all of my clients, when I'm coaching them on cryptocurrency investing, every financial advisor in the world, from Warren Buffett to me, will always tell you, don't invest money that you cannot afford to lose. But folks, in crypto, I believe that the rule that's even more important than that is don't invest money into crypto that you can't afford to leave in the market for the long term. And by the long term, I'm talking about a year or 2 or 5. Now, I believe over the next 6 months or so, 6 to 9 months, you're going to see incredible gains. But I want you investing money that you can afford to leave there longer than that if you need to. I promise you, if you will invest money that you can afford to leave in the market, great things are going to happen for you. All of my wealth came from investments that was down 75 to 99%. When I was investing in 2018 and 2019 and most of 2020, everything just continued to get smashed and smashed and smashed. And I literally, by the end of those 3 years, 95% of the stuff in my portfolio was down a minimum of 75%, and a lot of it was down 95 to 99%. But the one thing that I did right is I didn't have to sell it. And when we had the great huge bull market from December of 2020 to May of 2021, all of those came roaring back and made me, over $1 million in a 5-month period of time. And folks, it's going to happen again. It's inevitable that we are going to see a massive bull run in the next 6 to 12 months, but you got to be in it to win it. You got to have money invested in the market in order to be there when it happens. So with that, folks, you got to be patient. One of my favorite videos that I did probably a couple months ago now was the number one reason that people aren't having success in cryptocurrency investing. And it basically turned into the two number ones. Like, they're both equal and it's a paradox almost. They're totally opposite. But the first thing that I said was that most people aren't patient enough. So most people just aren't patient enough. They don't leave their money in long enough to let it do what it's supposed to do. On the flip side of that, though, the second thing that most people don't do correctly is they're not in a big enough hurry. So folks, you got to be in a huge hurry. You got to have massive urgency when it comes to creating finances that you can put into the market. You got to be putting money into the market yesterday. Folks, you got to do whatever you got to do to make enough money and get it into this market to where it's going to be life-changing for you. So even in the example I just gave, $1,000 turned into $100,000 is amazing. But for most people, if you're, married, single, whatever, like if you're 25, 35, 45, 50 years old, even having $100,000 in the bank is not going to give you freedom. It's not going to probably be enough to where you can walk in and tell your boss that you can't afford to work for him anymore. So even if you're able to take $1,000 and get it ran up into 25, 50, or 100 grand, which is an amazing, amazing result, that's going to be awesome. Might help you take a little bit of an extra vacation, might even give you enough money as a down payment to buy your own house, might help you to get out of debt. But folks, it's not going to make you financially free to where you can stay at home and raise your children and take them to school in the morning if you choose to have them go to school. But, you're there for them. You're there in the morning to take them to school. You're there in the afternoon to pick them up from school. You can go on vacation and you don't need anybody's permission. You just decide, hey, let's go to Disneyland. Let's go to Disney World. Let's whatever. Go to the Bahamas. You don't need people's permission. In order to have financial freedom and be able to walk away from your 9 to 5, you got to get enough money into the market now. You got to do it now. Yeah. Over the next month or two, could prices dip even further? Yes. But your mentality should be that I've got to do it now. Hey, I'm going to go out to dinner and I'm going to spend an extra couple $100 on dinner tonight. And you think to yourself, wait a second, that extra couple $100 is like, 200 times 10 is 2,000, 200 times 50 is 10 grand. Is this dinner out tonight worth 10, is it worth $1,000? Is it worth $2,000? Is it worth $10,000? And the answer is no. And I'm talking to myself. My son, I can't see his face over here, but he's probably over here smirking because he knows that my wife and I, we spend a ridiculous amount of money eating out way, way, way too often. Do we look at each other and nobody feels like cooking and we end up going out to eat and so on and so forth? I've cost myself probably millions of dollars because the tens of thousands that I've spent eating out would have turned into millions. And so I am the pot calling the kettle black on this one. But folks, there's so many ways, if it's important enough to you, that you can get this money into the market and do what you need to do to set yourself up. You can make enough money over the next 6 to 9 months to really set yourself up for life. Yeah, once you make your money, there's going to be some skills that you need to learn. You're going to have to figure out how to take that money, that million or 2 or 5 or $500,000, whatever it is that you create, and you're going to have to learn how to create a income stream from that. But that's doable. That's a great challenge to have. And I'm looking forward to that next step in the journey and working with everybody and doing it for myself. Towards the peak of this bull market, it's going to be so sweet when our biggest challenge is trying to figure out how we're going to take all of the money that we made and how we're going to take that money and create income producing assets that spit off cash flow to where we never have to work for another man or woman again if we don't want to. So with that, folks, I am going to get out of here and let you enjoy the rest of your Monday. We went for a little over an hour. I know I didn't go through the chat a whole lot today. I'll go back and look through it, but I do appreciate each and every one of you. I love you all. Thank you so much for being here. And hopefully you got something today that was impactful. And once again, let's really all, including myself, part of the reason, full transparency, that I did this video is, I hate to admit it, but like for the last 2 or 3 months, I haven't tithed my 10%. And I've gone through some financial struggles over the last 2 or 3 months that I believe 100% is because I got off the path. I got off my own path. I'm the one that loves God and trusts God and that knows that God is my provider. And it wasn't on purpose. It's a slippery slope. Like one of the reasons that so last but not least, I know I'm famous for that, but when you get money that you want to give and help other people with, I would recommend you got to do it first. So it's very easy if all of a sudden I have a couple $1,000s come in. If I give the first 200 of it to God, if I give it away right when the first 2,000 hits my bank account, it's easy. But what I made the mistake of was, like, sometimes, not, this is not a defense, but what will happen is I've got money coming in from different areas. I've got expenses. I've got a lot of different stuff going on. So sometimes I'll be like, okay, $2,000 hit my account, but I had to pay my editor. I paid my son. I've got this expense and that expense, business expenses. So, like, how much of that $2,000 is actually profit? Because if it, like, if only 1,200 of it was profit, then I would tithe $120. And what'll happen is, in the day or two or three or four, while I'm trying to calculate and figure out what was profit, bills come up, life comes up, food comes up, and all of a sudden that $2,000 is 500. And now I'm like, okay, well, you owe, 150 of that was tithe. And it's like, it's a little harder if you've only got, 400 or 500 of it left to want to, tithe 150 of it. And so, like, in my own life, I've ran into this challenge where my accounting needs to get better. And it's another reason why I'm so excited about working with Ernest Lee and Decrypted Tax and getting, some programs and some things into place that are keeping track of my expenses, my inflows and my outflows better. But long story short, this whole video was for me. I know I tell you guys that all the time, and I don't know if you really believe me, but I did this video because I knew I needed a wake-up call. I knew I needed to draw a line in the sand. It's one of those things where, like, you get out of the habit, and it's so hard sometimes to get back into the habit. But it's July 1st, and I've, made a commitment to myself, and I've made a commitment to God, and I've prayed for forgiveness for not tithing over the last couple of months the way that I know I should have. But I'm making a commitment to myself and to God to get back onto it, because I know that if I was giving and doing the things that I should have been doing, some of the financial problems and some of the hardships and some of the things that I went through frustration-wise probably would not have happened. So with that, folks, I appreciate you guys giving me an opportunity to talk to myself for the last hour and 15 minutes. And I love you all. God bless you. I can't wait to see you on Wednesday for the Microcap Millions live stream. Got all sorts of exciting cryptos that I've been looking at, including one right now that we just published a video on yesterday for a token called Shibu that is part of the Casper network. I highly recommend going and taking a closer look at that video. Do your own due diligence, but I'm super excited about that project. So with that, folks, I love you. Have a great day, and we will see you again on Wednesday. Take care.